Today, I want to share my thoughts on my presentations to the BBI. I want to share with Kenyans my thinking around what we need to do if we are going to change our constitution. There are many things that one would wish to look at, including the bloated parliament, including unnecessary commissions, and a host of other things. But my presentation to BBI, which I share today, and which I've shared on social media, is about the structure of the executive. A lot has been said about the need for a prime minister, but there's always a problem in deciding exactly who this prime minister is. How does he operate? How does the prime minister relate to the president? It has been difficult. From Bomas of Kenya, it would appear it was very clear. But when members of parliament went to Naivasha in the run-up to the 2010 constitution, it appeared that was like a mongrel. Questions were raised. How do you elect a president through popular votes and then at the same time give that power to run government to a prime minister who was not elected but nominated by parliament? Today I offer what I consider to be a solution to this problem. The problem in this country is that we have a president who has too much to do. An overwhelming majority of the functions of the president and exactly what the president spends a lot of time doing are matters of state. Receiving dignitaries, attending rallies, and all manner of things, which if you go to the constitution, fall actually under his functions as head of state. Receiving dignitaries and so on and so forth. Being commander-in-chief, passing out parades. I propose a system of government where you enhance the president's power. Actually, I call that president an imperial president. A president with a lot of power in terms of the trappings of power. A president who is more or less like a king along the British monarchy. That is what I suggest. So that the president is commander-in-chief. He has power of mercy. He gives awards on behalf of the people. He appoints ambassadors and receives credentials from foreign diplomats. As commander-in-chief, he presides over parades. The president presides over our national days, Jamhuri Day, Madaraka Day, etc. That is the president I have in mind. He is in charge of all the state houses and state lodges. That is the president I have in mind. He receives the prime minister, because then we are going to have a prime minister. When the prime minister has been nominated by parliament in a procedure that we shall have established, most likely being the head of a political party with the most numbers in parliament, or with a coalition with others. After that stage is over, the prime minister designate then presents himself to the president in a very elaborate function, part of the rituals and ceremony that makes the presidency a powerful presidency. You go there as a prime minister designate, he receives you and he gives you the powers of instrument and approves with your cabinet. The president has no power to sack the prime minister. The prime minister, on the other hand, has power to run government. You see, the problem we have in this country, that the president has so much to do under the docket of head of state that the president of this country rarely attends to matters of government. No president in this country has had the time to attend to matters of government. So I'm suggesting we give our prime minister all the power needed all the power needed to run government because the president cannot even sack him. And I'm bringing in the British monarchy because the Queen does not even comment on matters of politics or of government. The Prime Minister in Britain does the work. The same Prime Minister here will do their work without interference from the President because the President cannot sack him. Parliament can through a vote of no confidence. Now, this Prime Minister will ensure there are sufficient policies, and these policies will then be implemented by a public service that is professional, independent, impartial. The people who serve as civil servants and public servants serve under the seal of approval of the president. But that is just nominally so. So we have a country where the president has all the prestige. He's the one actually who makes the final appointment in an elaborate ritualistic ceremony in a state house or state lodge when a governor has been elected. Say, for example, after an election, there is a governor now in Kakamega. The president will be in State Lodge Kakamega to receive that governor designate, governor elect, and give him the instruments of power and authority in a very elaborate ceremony. So you can see everybody would want to be president because president is powerful. But, Kenyans, the president does not touch our shilling. There is nowhere where the president of the Republic of Kenya will get in contact with Kenyan money apart from the money we have given him. So we give him sufficient money to be president, almost like a king, together with his family. We could even accept the family from taxation. But there is nowhere anakutana na shilingi ya Wakenya. There is no land for the president to give. There is no money to be allocated by the president anywhere. The prime minister, on the other hand, has the power to run the government, but because he's just first among equals, he will have no power and, in fact, no role in distributing the resources of this country. So we'll have come to a point where, unlike what I've seen the reactions from people, is a situation where you allow the president to shine, but let the prime minister run government and do work. For this reason, because I want the president to appear almost kingly, for this reason, things like term limits are not necessary. Because the longer the president stays, the quicker we shall get to establishing a tradition of a ceremonial, ritualistic president, almost like a king. Kenyans will die to get that job because it is where the apparent power is, but you do not interfere with the running of government. And the person who runs government is a prime minister. And because the prime minister is in parliament, together with his cabinet, there will be no excesses. And in order to produce the kind of leaders I want in this country, we want Senate to be, first of all, the National Senate will be the upper house, with very clear responsibilities borrowed from the House of Lords in the UK and the American Senate. But in order to have serious Senate, we need to have an incubation hub. So I propose we have regional governments, about 14 of them. In this regional government, then we will have the regional governors. Those are the ones the president will be giving power to in the state lodges or state houses across the country. But we shall also have a Senate at the region, much the same way as it works in America. Now, the reason why we will need this Senate is that it is from this Senate that you will get senior senators at the national level. The Senate at the national level will have people who have been elected from the counties, but there will be room for peers along the lines of what happened in the House of Lords. So people who have, for example, have been governors for 2 successive terms may qualify in more or less a peer-reviewed process of becoming members of the Senate at the national level. If somebody has been a senator like for 3 or 4 times in the region, his peers at the Senate, through a peer mechanism, can admit him to Senate. And there will be a lot of other details of how one becomes a senator other than election, how you vacate that office, how you retire, through a peer process. And dear Kenyans, instead of bashing my proposals, look at these proposals in terms of having somebody who enjoys what it is to be president, but has nothing to do with running of government. That president who is powerful, almost a king, does not have our land to allocate, does not give jobs, does not touch our money, so that everything about our resources and government and employment that will be done by an impartial, powerful, professional public service. The public service shall be the sole employer of all public servants in this country, in my proposal. So that if you want to employ somebody and you are a county, give your proposal to the Public Service Commission. They will look at your proposal and start the process of recruiting for you, so that nepotism, corruption, bribery, so that our civil service will be professional. Not one individual will have the right and the power to employ somebody. In this manner, every Kenyan shall have a fair right to employment, promotion, and fair labor practices. Look at this proposal. Allow us to have this powerful president with a functional prime minister.